When I was in the 5th grade, we lived in a small town outside of El Paso, TX. My mom had a friend, I'll call E, who had an older son who was always in trouble. He hung out with the wrong crowd, drinking and doing drugs. One night, I woke up to screaming and banging at our front gate. My mom and brothers were already at the door trying to figure out what worst was going on. I remember my sister telling me and my younger brother to go back into the room. We did, but we kept the door open so we could look out and try to hear what was going on. It was E's son. He was screaming and crying, saying the devil has attacked him. I heard my sister calling his mom on the house phone, telling her that he was at our house all drugged out going crazy and that she needed to come get him. My brother and I jumped back into the room because my mom was taking him to the bathroom to get cleaned up. When they walked by the room, I picked out again and saw him holding a towel on his chest with blood on it. Mom closed the room door on us, so I'm not sure what happened afterwards, but I guess E came to get him. In the morning, my brother and I kept asking my sister what happened. She told us the devil had attacked him for being bad. I think she just said that to scare us, and it did, so we let it alone. A couple days later, E came over to see my mom and told her that her son had been sent off somewhere to get help. I was being nosy, listening to them talk in the kitchen from the room. I heard Mom ask E what her son had told her happened, and she said that apparently he's son and a handful of friends had been drinking and getting high. When the cops busted up the house they were partying at and made everyone leave. She said that when he was walking home, some had attacked him, but that he was so high he swore up and down it was the devil. E said it was all in his head, but I heard my mom tell her, E, I saw the marks on his chest and neck. It looks like something clawed him. All she said was, I know, and nothing else. I never saw him again, but years later, I heard he straightened up his life after that day. Didn't drink or anything anymore.
Last night was a wait till pretty late. It was roughly 3:02 a.m. when I got a call from a random number. I've obviously declined as I didn't know who it was, and it showed blocked caller ID. I was waiting hard by it. But I continue playing my game. I decided to start streaming. I wasn't that popular, but I had a pretty small fan base and they liked what I did, so I thought it would be a good idea. Unfortunately, things will take a turn for the worst. I was about half an hour into my stream when I got a call from the same number, so I declined again. I told my viewers that this has happened right before the stream started. It was around 3:45 by now, and I've just finished the match, and I was queuing up for another one when I got a call from a different number this time, but with the same, and numbers 3.2-06. At this point I was getting pretty frustrated that I can't get in cause numbers I didn't know, so I decided to block the number, but then the one that called me twice previously. And again, so I decided to block that one, but I got a call from another number, and another number, and another number, all with different end numbers. Medusa telling you to answer, but I refused, as I didn't know who was calling me. Find that gave in, and when one more called, I answered it. A raspy voice answered the phone saying, "Go to sleep." I thought it was one of my viewers had forgotten my number I've shared out, but I was wrong. I turned back towards my webcam and said, "Haha, very funny guys," and then I kept playing. I got more calls from numbers with different end numbers. I was getting really annoyed now, so number that called I answered, and all of them with different voices said go to sleep, but one will I answered different. The voice said, "Look outside," down my spine. I decided to pull my 12-gauge shotgun out from under the bed, and I closely crept towards the window, but I saw nothing. Then I got another call and I answered that with a stutter. I said, "Hello." The voice answered back, "Not that window." The voice was soft and female. It reminded me of my mother, but it was not my mother. She died when I was 13, but the female's voice came from a different number than the one telling me to look out the window. I turned towards my other window, which was next to my bed. I crept closer, gripping the stock of my shotgun. Then I whipped back my curtains, and there I saw a woman. She was short yet skinny, with white flowing hair that was waving in the midnight wind. It's so as if my heart stopped and I shouted out, "Mom!" I got another call, a different number, but I answered it, keeping my eyes on the figure that looked like my mother, as I feared if I look away she would disappear. I answered, and a low, grumpy voice said, "Lock all windows, lock your door and go to sleep. She will pass and you'll be safe." Before I could say anything, the call ended. I looked back at the figure as I took my eyes off of it to look at the number. The figure edged closer to the house, but now I could see two pairs of white, beady eyes and red liquid dripping from its mouth. Its teeth were yellow and serrated. This was not my mother. I was terrified, so I did what the voice said. I locked my window, closed my curtains, and I locked my door, and I went to bed. Well, all of this was happening, but I forgot that my stream was still going. But I was too scared to get up and turn it off. Heard screaming coming from outside. The figure was angry at what I did. You then heard a loud bang. The creature has broken through my back door and is now in my house. It was upstairs at normal rate and started banging on my door, scratching at it, kicking, doing anything it could to try and get in my room. I had my shotgun next to me, but I was too scared to move. This was going on for more than an hour, and I was baffled how my stream had not called the police, as my address was known to some people to who watch my stream. And as it went on, I got angry. So I got out of my bed, pointing my shotgun towards my door, and I fired it. The noise boomed throughout my house. But the banding, scratching, and kicking has stopped. I got so scared I'm running into my bed, and I slept, not bothering to check if the creature was alive or not, because at this point I didn't care. Soon after I woke, it was around 5 a.m., and I'm tired. I only got 1 hour's sleep. I don't know what happened. I got up as my bed, and I walked towards my broken door. I saw a figure. It was completely black, like it's been burned from fire, and it wore a small crown out of sticks. It also wore Easter clothing around his waist down to its knees. It was flowy like a dress, but it was patchy and made of some type of skin or hide. Stood up its head to see a pair of white eyes with small black pupils. The pupils darted up and stared me in the face. I froze before a long arm slashed at me. Everything went black, and before I knew, I awoke in my chair. I turned around to see my door in one piece, and I thought, was it just a dream?
I'm running, the air burning my throat as I breathe and my lungs protesting at the lack of oxygen. I reach for an old metal door, using its weight to gain momentum and swing it shut. My legs gave up and I fall back, hitting the wall behind me. Punches and kicks propel the hinges forward until it finally snaps. I'm crouched down inside a cabinet, holding my shirt in my mouth, but my labored breathing is not helping. The wood floor creaks with each step. Slow and heavy, the feet switch in the position, sign they are looking around. To my horror, I hear them approach me and stop in front of the cabinet. I close my eyes, tears streaming down my face. Seconds being dragged into minutes by my fear. The steps come back, this time going the opposite way. I leave my hitting, letting the door hit against the stand. They turn around, lowering their gaze to the knife in my hand, the cold metal reflecting the moonlight breaching throughout the broken window. In one movement, I slit their throat, the blade tracing a thick red line. The lifeless body falls onto the ground, eyes widened and mouth gapped. I take the access card out of the nurse's pocket and leave the old asylum. Walking back, I smile as I see the new relocation appear in the distance. I'm not crazy. It was my lawyer's idea to plead insanity, and it's far more easy to escape an asylum than a real prison.
I was walking home from work because my car had broken down. As I was walking, I felt this uneasy feeling, as if someone was watching me. When I arrived, I saw that my wife and child were bleeding all over the floor. The blood was spreading fast, but I also noticed that the marks did not look like any animal I have ever seen. There were scratches too big for a bear or coyote, and there are no signs of stab wounds. My wife was torn apart limb from limb and was spread across the room. My mind was racing, and then I fell on my knees with tears in my eyes, thinking every moment I spent with them. They were gone. But then my son, I heard him coughing. He said, "Dad, help me." Son answered me. I cried. No response. I called an ambulance as fast as I could, and they tried to save him, but it was too late. He was dead. As the ambulance left with the bodies, I noticed something peeking through the window as I went to check. I saw a dark and tall, beast-like figure frantically running into the night. The figure was too tall to be a coyote and too skinny to be a bear. The eyes looked like the whitest white I have ever seen. The next morning, I went to work still scared that thing would come back and I wouldn't be so lucky. My coworkers comforted me, and my boss even gave me the day off. As I was walking back, I felt the same uneasy feeling. I looked around, and I saw something rattling around in the bush. I ran to check, but I only found a possum eating an apple with a few bites taken out of it. I was getting paranoid that thing could attack me at any time. I arrived at my new home to find it destroyed. That only meant one thing: he was back. I told the police that someone had broken in, because if I told them a monster came and ripped up my house, they would call me crazy. I had to rent a house for the time being. I hardly slept that night, scared that the monster would show up. I went back to work the next morning. My friend told me that someone broke into his house and destroyed it. My face went pale, and then he asked if he could stay with me for the night because it was supposed to be below 30 degrees. I hesitated before I said yes. That night I finally slept. I woke up in the middle of the night. I couldn't find my friend, but then I heard screaming, "What? What?" I yelled, but the noise stopped, followed by chewing and ripping noises, and I knew it was too late. He heard me yell. I knew I was next.